The Diesel Performance Podcast contains explicit language.
Thank you for joining us again. This is Paul Wilson, and you're listening to the Diesel Performance Podcast.
Whoa, dude, what about me?
Yeah, I thought you wanted to go home.
Wow, I mean, I offered, but... And thank you, guys. This is Chris Emke. Fuck.
Who is also on the Diesel Performance Podcast today. Guys, it's Friday. We're having a great time here in the studio. I actually just got off the phone with one of our listeners who is picking up a switch for his LML. Kenneth
Atkinson.
Great guy. Kenneth, thank you so much for listening. He's really into team roping.
Yes.
I didn't know that was a thing.
I didn't know it was a thing. He had to break it down for me about 2 months ago. I mean, he's in Texas, right?
Yeah.
So he went into this complete detail of what goes on there, and he's like, I think I could build a podcast off of this. And
yeah.
I was just starting with you on this, and I told him, I was like, I know nothing about this. Paul knows a little bit more. He's like, well, next time I call in, he's like, I'm gonna rattle his cage a little bit. I want to know more. I was like, all right, you want the expert of diesel, you keep dealing with me. When you want to talk about podcasts, you deal with him. He called in today. It just so happened he needed a switch. He rattled your cage about the podcast like he talked about. So
yeah, absolutely.
Kenneth, shout out. You know, he went out of his way to he was going to look at a truck for us about a year and a half ago when we were trying to find
him.
Yes.
Okay.
So great guy. I appreciate doing business with him.
Yeah.
He's straightforward. He has a badass LBZ. He's got the badass LML. So
it's always great to hear from listeners, guys. So if you have questions, even if it's about something that's kind of like off diesel and you just want to talk about podcasts or whatever, feel free to get a hold of us. We'd love to hear from you guys. If anything else, or if nothing else, it gives us a break from doing our job.
Yeah. So. I mean, guys, I'll be honest. I'm basic. I like cars and trucks. Like, I like performance stuff. Like, I'm weird. I don't like sports. I don't like guns. Like, sorry, you guys are probably going to judge me, but that's reality.
I love when you start conversations with, I'm sorry, but I'm basic.
Yeah. I go to Starbucks on Fridays, you know.
And a basic bitch. All right. And then I would say this week from Duramax Tuner, what do you got, Chris?
Man, what do I have? Fords. You know, let's dive into Fords a little bit. You know, over at Calibrated Power, we launched the 11 to 16 support for custom tuning.
Yeah.
Getting some inquiries about it. You know, it's a learning curve for me. You know, I just want to be very upfront. There are some guys that are going to call in that they've been in Ford like I've been in Duramax and Cummins, right? So it's a learning curve. We're learning. I'm learning. I appreciate all the guys that are giving us some, interest. And everyone that's been patient, I mean, I'm not going to claim to be a knowledge expert. I think neither would you when it comes to the Ford stuff.
Yeah, no, not as far as like what's my next turbo or like what, how do I make 800 horsepower?
Right.
I don't know that stuff. I haven't done it yet.
But we have had the ability.
The stock trucks,
yes. Nick, over at Duramax Tuner has given us the ability to drive in multiple years, 11, 12s, 15 trucks, 16 trucks. Nick knows how to tune a truck. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. We've all experienced the truck. I've had the privilege of taking him on some pretty long trips. We know what we're doing with what we're working with.
Yeah, exactly. So we're working on stock trucks right now. All emissions equipped. We're using an Edge Insight Pro, which is basically like a CTS2, but allows for custom tuning.
Allows for the reading and IDing of the file.
Exactly. Pretty cool process as far as that goes. So you definitely want to jump on the Calibrated Power YouTube channel. That'll have the install instructions so you get a better idea of what's required. It is switch on the fly. It's 5 tunes. The 11 to 14s peaking out at 480-ish to the rear wheels. And then the 15, 16s, very fucking impressive.
Dude,
570 horsepower to the rear wheels.
I mean,
nothing but a tune.
The guy that works at our shop, he has a 15. I've had the luxury of driving in it. I mean, just the tune, 580, 570 horse. It's insane. It drives so well. So that's one of the big things and one of the I'm excited about, as far as the new products that we're coming to market with over at Duramax Tuner, along with some other stuff. But just all the Ford, customers 6 months ago, no, we don't do Fords. No, we're never going to touch Ford.
I literally have told people we will never tune Ford.
I have too, and shook my head in the process.
Words, right? What a dumbass, huh? Yeah, and then they came out and they're like, hey, we're going to tune Fords.
Guys, if I ever talk to you, feel free to give us a shout again. I'm sorry.
Please.
I admit when I'm wrong.
It has been really interesting and a really exciting new venture to get into it. The feedback so far has been phenomenal to the point that I just did one for another podcast listener, Jim McNichol up in Canada, who has the highest horsepower ACE and equipped Cummins that I know of.
Right.
he works that fucking truck too. He literally called me the other day and was like, how far out's that emissions equipped twin turbo kit? Because I might go trade this piece of shit in for a Ford. And my jaw hit the ground. Like, that's something I never thought I would hear. He's not. Don't worry, all the Cummins fans, slow down. We will be doing a twin turbo kit with Jim, but yeah, at this point, it is very impressive. They are very fun to drive, really similar to the LMLs.
Yeah, from what Nick over at Duramax Tuner keeps saying, the ECM and just the strategies in the tuning, the LMLs and the Power Strokes, they
Turbo,
share a lot of
injectors,
similarities.
Yeah.
We were going to get Nick back on here sooner than later and kind of go over some of the fundamentals and basics of the 6.7.
Sneak peek, our next episode will be with Nick about Ford tuning.
Boom, mic drop.
Boom. All right. Now drop the mic. No, don't really do that. Okay, so the other thing I want to give a big shout out: 14 millimeter Exergy CP3 pumps. Exergy is a sponsor of the show.
We have some experience firsthand with them.
Yes. Now Chris and I, we've been doing 10 and 12 mil pumps since we started.
Man, since I came out the womb.
There was a time way back in the day where I remembered people posting about how stroker pumps will never make power because back then they were all bag of parts and just shit. Exergy came to the game years ago with a 10 mil, probably back right when I started, about 5 years ago. They came out with a 12 mil, and then just recently they've fully launched the 14 millimeter stroker CP3 pump.
We've had a year under our belts with playing with them. Nick has in our Duraburb over at the shop. I mean, almost 1,100 horsepower, guys. This is no bullshit. And that's just their street version. They have a race version.
Yeah, and that's not even taxing the pump. We're not limited by the pump at all on that setup. I actually asked Rick the other day, I was like, so how much is the peak? He says, we'll find out.
Yeah, no, we don't know. They don't know.
Like, it's that much capacity of fuel. And the cool thing is, like you had mentioned, the Duraburb, street-driven truck.
It's a simplistic build. I mean, this is a simple set of compounds, relatively good-size injector these days.
Yeah.
Single pump, guys.
Single pump.
Pop
Not
the
only
hood
that,
other than compounds.
it used to be when you put a 12 mil pump on a street truck, you'd have this nightmare on your hands of drivability issues.
The regulator played a big role.
The regulator
and
was
just trying
nuts
to
to
map
control.
everything. Not that way.
No. Now 10, 12, 14 mils, put them on street trucks, drive them all day long, sled pull on the weekends, whatever you want to do, really not a problem. So big shout out to Exergy for being a sponsor of the show. We love those 14 mil pumps. They are fucking nasty. And then, of course, our other title sponsor is going to be WCFAB.
Wehrli.
Jason Wehrli.
Yeah, man. What a good guy he is.
No shit, huh? If you've ever called in and talked to Jason or got the pleasure of meeting him out at any of the shows, you'll know that Jason's a young guy. He's really passionate about this industry and about what he does.
He's not the type of guy to shy you away.
No.
He engages conversation. He's an enthusiast. He's into a lot of other hobbies, but he's just a genuine guy. Like, you can go up to him, have a conversation. He's knowledgeable. He's definitely a leader in the industry right now, I'd say.
Absolutely.
And, that I think has a lot to do with his character and his drive.
And we've had Jason and his brother Ryan on the show different times. Jason's been on a few times. Ryan's been on the once with his C10. What I always take away, and what I think people who maybe don't even know a lot about the industry and don't know who the big players are, it doesn't matter if you've ever seen a diesel before. You'll look at the fit and finish of their products and realize this is top quality.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, I've had their kits on my personal trucks. Offered customers a lot of different parts that Wehrli offers. I've never had fitment be an issue.
Right.
And their powder coating skills over there. They have a powder coating shop in-house. So, I mean, sky's the limit with what kind of colors or custom colors you think you might want to come up with.
The black with the gold flake.
Dude, I know. It's
just nasty.
Awesome. Like, pop the hood, sex appeal, what?
Pop the hood, drop the panties.
There you go. Hey, that's Shide's 2018 slogan.
But no, for real, their LML air intake bundle, I was just talking to a guy about it the other day. He was really trying to push his truck to, like, the ultimate tow rig.
Absolutely.
And he was really concerned with, hey, if I'm doing all of this and I'm adding all of this power, and he was towing well over gross vehicle weight in situations that were going to be tough on the truck, he asked, what else should I do? I'm like, man, listen, like, at Duramax Tuner, I can't sell you this intake bundle. It has some parts that we don't have approved, but you should call Jason and buy this because this is what you need. This opens up the airflow, quicker spool up, lower EGTs, just a better operating truck. And that's really what we're all about here is making the power and keeping the reliability. And when you're pushing the power on these LMLs and you're starting to fight heat, you need to keep that reliability by opening up the airflow. And that's exactly what the LML high flow air intake bundle does. for today. Now that we've paid the bills, boys.
We did in a big way.
We love those guys. We don't mind at all. We actually are really excited. We got a fun episode today. We usually try to teach you guys something new, or maybe bring somebody on that you haven't got to hear talk before. But today we said throw out everything you know about the Diesel Performance Podcast. We got a real asshole for you to listen to. No, I'm just joking. Of course.
That's the best introduction I have ever heard.
We have Manfred from Longhorn Fab Shop on the line. Manfred, how the hell are you?
I'm doing awesome. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great, man.
Dude, you
Thank
should
you
feel
so much
privileged for that introduction, by the way.
That is the best introduction I think I've ever had. That's awesome. That is awesome. I'm going to apologize ahead of time. You guys might hear some road noise behind me. I'm on my way to go ride some razors this weekend and pulled off especially for you guys in the middle of nowhere, Kentucky. So if you hear road traffic behind me, that's no worries. If you guys start hearing banjos, someone come get me.
With a case of beer.
Oh, my gosh. I could trade it off. There's a half-drank case of beer and 5 gallons of fuel. You would call it even?
Oh, yeah.
I love it. Manfred, I got a chance to run into you out at the XDP show a couple of weeks ago. We got to talking and having a few beverages, and I just had to bring up what I know about Longhorn Fab Shop is very limited. We'll start there.
Let's talk about the basics. How did he get into this?
Yeah.
How did he get to this incident, right?
Let's go.
So, Manfred, how did you get your start in diesel performance?
Well, I was always a diesel enthusiast. I grew up on a farm. As a kid, we had cattle, trucks, tractors, all that good stuff. And went to school for mechanical engineering, got into automotive stuff, built a race car while we were in school, worked for Toyota, in different powertrain and all that good stuff there. And as soon as I graduated, there was the big downturn in the automotive industry. And so OEMs were kind of tight on hiring, but the aftermarket seemed to still be in pretty good shape. So I got a job right out of school, an engineering job that I wasn't really happy with. And so I thought, I'm going to be working for pennies. I'll just, try to start my own business on the side. And so I got into, selling some diesel parts and just a little intakes and exhaust here and there. And I always told myself, all I have to do is I'll make this and then I'll quit my job. And then, a better job came along, and I got more experience in the engineering field, and then paid better. And then I was like, all I have to do is make this, and I'll quit and do this full time. And so then I got into some engineering positions in some Fortune 500 companies, and all of a sudden it got really hard to quit. They kind of get you with those golden handcuffs, and to a point where I was working 20 hours a day, and I was getting to bed at 3, 4 in the morning, and I'd have to be up at 6 the next day to go to my what people call a normal job. I called it my first shift job. My second shift job was Longhorn, and it got to the point where I couldn't keep up anymore, and so my wife ended up we had a little boy, and so she quit her job, and she was kind of doing it part-time, so I was doing it like second shift full-time. She was doing it first shift part-time, and it got to the point where it was taking up all her day and all my evenings, and we kind of just looked at each other one day, and she's like, you got to decide what route you're going. You're either going to pursue this, corporate career, or we're gonna make a go at this Longhorn full time. And so that's what we did. And she's been through a lot of long nights and a lot of hard days and weekends and working holidays and all that stuff. But so here we are today. That's how I got the introduction of the biggest asshole on Diesel Power Podcast.
I love it. So overnight success. It just took 5 years, huh?
Yeah, that's it. Just 5 years in the making. I think that's a Yingling commercial or something. Overnight success, 200 years in the making.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I think I would have quit at like 195. I don't know if I would have made it to the 200 years.
Oh my
God. Okay, so Manfred, I think what we had initially talked about, and I'll be honest, even back when I first started in diesel, what I knew Longhorn for was was smoking Lope tunes.
No, come on,
Oh
traction
man,
bars.
you're gonna get me started right before the weekend, aren't you?
No,
Here
so
I'm gonna
that's
have a razor ride.
yes, yeah, we're here to fuck up your day. Yes.
Thanks a lot, guys. Oh shoot, well I'll go on my rant here. How's that sounding? And it's actually pretty interesting that you say that that's your first memory of Longhorn, because in a roundabout way that was pretty strategic. I kind of told you I was doing it part-time and not making enough to quit. My budget was kind of limited too. And so what had happened was originally, back when forums were kind of relevant in the diesel industry, imagine that, like 5-6 years ago, 7 years ago.
Manfred.
8 years ago.
They still are relevant.
Right.
Well, they went from the forum to Facebook forum.
Yeah, okay.
So they're still there.
Yeah.
Which you'll get lit the fuck up now. Like,
Go
I'm
to
just
one
saying.
of those www forum URLs and see how much traffic there is. You can't find a post like after 2013, I don't think.
No, that's true.
So kind of what happened was I was kind of limited on a budget, and at the time when I first started tuning trucks, autocals weren't really a thing, and I was trying to figure it all out, and I had, my own truck and a bunch of other local trucks, and I had built a small kind of macro and things that I was using to calculate airflow values and boost and fuel and how to map that all through the throttle tables and all that good stuff. And so I just had a couple local guys I was tuning trucks, and we were having a good time before we really realized that there was, there's actually money to be made at this. And so I'm just browsing through the forums one day, and just like doing a name search to see kind of where my rankings were and how the website showed up and all that good stuff. And I found this post on a forum of this guy that said that he had gotten tuning from me, and his truck ran the shittiest it ever ran and wouldn't run right, and he ordered a smoking Lope tune, and now he regrets it because his motor was wiped out, and I mean all this stuff. And I'm reading this, I'm like, what in the hell? Like, I don't recognize this guy's name at all. Besides the fact that he would have had to actually come to my physical home to get tuned at the time. And I was like, man, surely somebody would have, before they would have went on a forum, if that really would have happened, and it would have been someone I obviously would have known, that guy would have been calling me, texting me. It doesn't stop anyone else at 3 in the morning to send me a text and 18 phone calls and leave me voicemails. So why would it stop someone that I obviously must have known, And so I was like, this is a bunch of crap. And so I just created this login, it was like Longhorn Fab Shop, and made my password and got on there, and I was like, hey man, I don't think you're being honest here. I checked my records, and I don't have any record of tuning your truck. I just have done local stuff, and, I really appreciate it if you didn't lie to everyone. This is complete crap. And so the forum, I get this, account gets locked out, and I get this message from a moderator that says, you can't get on here. You're not a paid vendor. If you want to get on here and post about your business, you're going to need to pay. And it was, I don't know what it was, like $300 or $400 a month or something like that. And obviously that wasn't in my budget, because I really had no budget. I had no money. So, so I responded back, and I was like, hey man, I'm going to advertise my business. I was just setting the record straight. It's not like I was getting on here, trying to drum up business. I was like, this guy just flat out lied about, me and my business and the tunes. And, I was just setting the record straight. And he sent me a message back, and he's like, you don't understand how this works. You either pay, or we will continue to let people lie about your business or say whatever they please, and we won't do anything to correct it, and neither will you.
Damn.
And, oh yeah.
That's
and
extortion.
At that point, I was pretty freaking hot about it at that point. I'm trying to start something new. It's already hard enough, and I got this asshole behind the keyboard. He's really badass because someone made him a fucking moderator on a forum. And so I was pissed, and people don't see that you're working 20 hours a day and you're just trying to make a living and you're trying to build this company and follow these regulations and all this other bullshit, and then you got this guy, trying to just make it even harder than it even has to be. And so I sent him an email back, and I was like, listen, I'm not going to be extorted by you or anybody else. And I was like, this is bullshit. I was like, I'm not ever paying you a dime, and I will starve before I ever send you a single dollar.
Fucking awesome.
And he sent me a message back, and I'll never forget this. He sent me a message back, and he said, without us, you'll never make it. Goodbye.
Whoa.
business now, huh?
Damn. Fucking talk about keyboard warriors at their finest.
Dude,
Oh, he had it,
forum
man. Back in the day,
moderators.
they were in prime practice back in the day.
That's it, bro. They had them forum muscles. They could flex that shit on you. It was
Dude,
real.
They had them, man. And so I sent him a message back, and I told him, I said, in 5 years I'll still be around, and you'll be starving, and forums will be irrelevant.
Boom.
And I had seen the Facebook thing already coming up. I kind of was watching and what the trends were with social media and stuff like that. And so, I kind of saw that trend hoping, and that's kind of what I was hedging on. If I was wrong, I was going to be screwed. But if I was right, it was going to turn out okay for me. And so that's what kind of happened. And what I noticed was we're kind of like watching rankings and stuff like that in Google and all the analytics and all that stuff. And I kept seeing these spikes. And for no apparent reason, it wouldn't just be like one tune order. I'd wake up in the morning and there'd be like 10 tune orders. And then it would be like real soft for a few days, 1, 2 here and there. And then bam, there'd be like 10 or 15 like overnight. And I couldn't put my finger on what in the heck was going on. And what it was, what I finally linked it up to was that every time there was a forum post of let's bash Longhorn today, I got like 10 orders from it. And
What?
I was like, this is actually kind of interesting because here these guys are bashing me and I'm getting all these orders for free. And so obviously,
Hold on, Manfred. Hold on. Were these Lope tune orders?
Some of them were, but for the majority of them, they're not.
I'm just
A lot of
busting your
guys-
balls.
No.
Every one of them. Every one of them's a fucking Lope tune. Every
Tune
one.
1, Lope. Number 2, moderate Lope.
One Lope tune, aggressive Lope, aggressive heavy smoke.
Lope hold the smoke.
5 immobilizer.
Lope, no smoke, and so I started getting these orders, and I'm like, well, this is really strange. These guys are bashing me, but there has to be obviously a lot more traffic that's viewing this than just the nut swingers that are bashing me on here. And so I was like, well, what if I just take advantage of this? Like, I'm not paying anything for this. This is great. Like, I get to do whatever I want. I get to be an asshole and make them work for me, and they're not even on my payroll. and so that's what I kind of did. So for 2 years, I trolled the forums. I would put stuff on my Facebook page that I knew would piss them off, that I knew would get would posted on there, that I knew would start a bashing. So that's all I did. I posted stuff about how many Lope tunes I sent out and how awesome Lope tunes were and how much smoke we loved, and we just smoked out everything all the time. And it's freaking awesome, dude. It made me so much money and I never had to pay him a dime.
Hold on. There is one thing that moderator said that was true. You would have never made it if it wasn't for them.
This is true. You're right. I take that back. I renege. So pretty much they pissed me off, and they, without knowing it, they all worked for me for 2 years, and I didn't have to pay them. So it worked out kind of great. And now they're irrelevant, which is awesome. So they kind of made me a bunch of money, and now no one goes to them. And I don't know what job those guys do or.
Moderators.
Here's
Here's my favorite part. Moderators never got paid. They were fucking volunteers. The Auto Guy bought up all the forums like 10 years ago.
Nice.
So Auto Guy went through and bought everything automotive. There is no automotive. Like, there are no diesel forums, like the old forums.
No
all of them are owned by Auto Guy. And I know this because we've signed the check to them, right?
Yeah. Well, you see how much I gave a shit about them.
Yeah.
I didn't even know who they were.
But now, like you said, now it's Facebook groups, and I think I see the same thing going on in Facebook groups that we saw go on in the forums because it's the same guys. So just because there's a loud push out there, just because everybody says something on the forum, doesn't mean that's what everybody believes, and doesn't mean that represents the actual majority of the industry. Like,
exactly.
There were.
It doesn't represent the majority of the people, and what people have to understand is the forum is just like. Or Facebook or social media is just like watching the news. Half the time I feel like I'm watching CNN or something. You can't believe anything.
But you also have to... Go on, Manfred. Sorry.
Oh, you just got to you got to realize that when you're looking at that when you see something on the forum or Facebook and you think, man, that seems kind of out of line, it probably is.
Yep.
You know, it's someone that's ranting and raving, that's upset that they couldn't follow the directions. They tried calling at 9 p.m. 18 times and couldn't get any customer service, and now they're upset. And, you know, there's all those things, and I understand that too. Like, it's a lot of money, and I've gotten parts or spent a lot of money on something and I couldn't figure it out, and I get frustrated, you know, and that's usually what happens with people. They get frustrated, they get on Facebook, and, you know, whether it's my competition or not, you know, I see that sometimes, and, you know, it's hard not to just step in and just write a comment quick, like, hey, man, like, he's probably asleep. Like, just chill out. You know, he's going to get you fixed. We're all in the business of getting you fixed, because if we don't do that, you know, we're not going to be around for long. So,
and that's it, though, you know, is it's finding the people who are reasonable that you want to work with, right? Like I always say, with the stuff we sell, we don't sell our stuff to everybody. No. Like, what we have is not for every single diesel owner in the world. It's for a group of them. And if you're in that group, great. If you're not, shut the fuck up and comment on something you do like.
Exactly. And I think Walmart, it used to be like a Walmart, Amazon mentality where you could buy everything and you could return whatever you want, and all you had to do is yell loud enough.
Right.
And that's not the case anymore. And even if you go to Walmart, you can't always yell loud enough and get a return. And with Amazon anymore, that mentality is they've all realized it's not sustainable. And so that culture is kind of changing too, because as a buyer, you're responsible for what you bought. Whether you get it and you think it's what you bought or not, or that you decide that you didn't want it or not, there you have to work through the actual issue of what about it didn't you like, because we're not doing this whole buy return kind of thing. And a lot of those companies now, like, I don't know if you guys have heard the term firing the customer.
Yep.
There's a lot of places where anymore, if you rant and rave on Facebook and it's not a legitimate claim and you haven't, you know, really tried and put forth an effort to actually talk to someone in a reasonable, professional manner, there's a lot of companies out there that have no problem, you know, sending you a return label and firing you as a customer, you know.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do, but those times are kind of changing, and we've noticed more and more places that are very, very clear about that. And so it's good to see people stepping up to that and kind of taking ownership, and I think it sets a tone with customers that you got to be responsible for what you're buying, and, you know, we're all in this, obviously, to make money. This isn't UNICEF diesel, you know.
Well, I think that's a big thing, too, you know, with what you do and what we do. I mean, it's custom, right? So per the customer and what they have, you're doing a custom service. So
exactly.
You send out a product to them now in this day and age with AutoCals. That's such a huge, huge lifesaver. And then they call saying, well, my vehicle is doing X, Y, and Z. So
left turn signal doesn't work.
And then you turn around and then it's like, okay, you have to edit the file to better suit their needs. Then they get a call back, oh, well, that's not what the truck was doing. This is what it's doing now. And it's like, you know, those are the guys that are getting very frustrated. And it's a select few out there. I mean, I understand there's going to be confusion, but you want the best for the customer. And you want to, you know, you need the best information in return. So, you know, you always tell guys, hey, I want to work with you, not for you. So we got to be on the same page in order to get this ironed out.
Exactly.
Not every truck's a home run, unfortunately.
That's it,
you know,
man.
It's not. Every truck's a little different.
Well, you know, I think the big point here, too, is as you're doing reviews and as you're doing research, it's about sifting through the difference between somebody being a troll, like Manfred taunting the forums,
right?
Or
smoke
or if it's like a bad review, you gotta read through that review. Don't just look at the stars. Read through and what did they say?
Right.
Does the guy sound like a fucking asshole in his review?
Troll his Facebook. What does he have?
Yeah.
Okay. Dude's trolling your ass, putting you on blast. Dude's got an 89 first gen.
Yeah.
Like, I have nothing against those guys. I love first gens, but I'm just saying you guys don't have tuning on the truck, so it's understanding the whole process.
It is. It's looking at all of it, you know, and I think the same thing goes for the good reviews. I was just on a Facebook group today and realized that it was sponsored by a company, and like everybody in the group constantly is posting about how great this company is. And I'm like, well, this is kind of a narrowed audience here, right? Like if we just made a fan group and then let our fans talk about how great we are, everybody who is new to industry came to that group and found it. They're like, oh, fuck, these guys must be great. Look at all of these people taunting. I think you called them nut swingers earlier, which is like the most appropriate term ever. Yep. That's cool. You should rep your brand. You should be proud of your truck. You should be proud of the stuff that you bought. You should be proud of people who gave you great customer service or provided you awesome products. Yep. But you also should be pretty realistic and understanding that I think a lot of my competitors do a great job. Yep. Just because you have my stuff doesn't mean I want you to bash my competitor. They're probably not really my competitor. They're just somebody else who does something similar.
I think that comes with the demographic. You know, we are working with a specific age group. You know?
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't the same as I was when I was 18, 19, because I would have been more that way, and I had been hosed by specific shops in the past and other endeavors that I was in. So, you know, as the time progresses, you know, you have to understand that everyone's human. It's not always perfect, and, you know, people are going to be brand loyal in their own ways.
You bring up a good point there, too. A lot of times, you know, I always wonder, like, how bad of experiences have people had with companies that they are so quick to, you know, assume that you're not going to ship their part or that it's not going to be right.
Right.
You know, we get people that, you know, they'll order at, you know, midnight, and at 7 a.m., 9 a.m., they're calling like, hey, you're going to ship my parts. Hey, you're going to ship my parts. I'm freaking out. Like, I don't have a tracking number yet. You know, I got burned by 3 other companies and still haven't got my money back. And I'm like, how many companies are there out there that's people's knee-jerk reaction is that they're going to get screwed.
Well, dude,
you know, that's kind of a real sad part.
The one thing when I was younger, you know, not having a bank account really to fall back on, you know, buying parts paycheck to paycheck, you know, you'd always look for the best prices. And the last thing I'm going to do is mention names or companies, but I had bought a turbocharger from a company. It took them 4 weeks to ship the turbo. Email, no response. Phone calls, no response. I mean, it was all to save $180. All to save $180 here, you know, like. You learn the value of a little bit more money. You're going to get stuff. I just bought a block-off plate that I needed for one of my project cars, and I ordered it off Amazon, and it was because it was free shipping, right?
You cheap
It
fuck.
took me 3 weeks to get. You know what? I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming.
You cheap fuck.
Hey, stop. I'm being honest. But you know what? There is something where, you know, you get guys on the phone, like, how long have you been in business? What do you service? You know, like, what... interrogating me on what I can offer them.
Sure.
But as time progresses, you know what? There's more con artists out there than genuine people. And that's what's tough.
It's crazy.
It's tough. You guys see that article about the knockoff XTP? What was he in Florida?
No.
Ripping people off? You didn't see this?
No.
So he named his company Extreme Diesel Performance. It is not the XTP we all know and love.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, my God.
So it's some asshole, some fly-by-night company gets arrested. Oh, my God. He ripped off customers and finally ripped off the wrong one, and they got him for, like, theft or whatever else. But, yeah, like, there are guys even out there who will rip off a name and open up a shop and try to piggyback on somebody else's success. You know, there's a balance between reading the reviews, understanding the reviews, and researching the company and researching what they've done. That is one thing that I think the Facebook groups are really good for, and that's what I really recommend people do. Don't just go on and write who's the best tuner. That's a too entry level of a question for our listeners, right? Like our listeners should know there is no one best tuner, and we work at a goddamn tuning company, right? If you're looking for the best tuner, it's more about how do you drive the truck? How do you use the truck? What is your mentality about the truck? What are your goals for the truck? What company best matches that? There's no one fits all. It's always the best, right?
Exactly.
And so that's where the Facebook groups are really, really useful. That's where you can get a lot out of them. Go on and ask, who else has used this product? Who else on here has an honest feedback? Who else has honest user review about this product? And that's going to get you a lot more accurate of information and keep a lot of the nut swingers out of your thread.
Exactly.
Manfred, you do more than Lope tunes, though.
And smoke tunes.
Yes, I do.
You do more than burnouts and black smoke.
I want to get this out there on the Lope tune thing. All right, let's just real talk right here.
Let's do it.
Lope tune, one table, one number. No crazy rail pressures. No ridiculous fueling. No 40 degrees of timing. No braking motor valves. All that bullshit that's on the forums. Like, I've heard it all. People, it's one number and one table. Anyone in the world could do it. That's it. All right, I'm done with Lope tunes.
That's it. Fuck Lope tunes.
So tuning was a big part for us. And then Now we do more tuning than we've ever have in the past, but it's peanuts compared to our manufactured products. That's really my background, was manufacturing. That's what I always had a passion for. That's kind of what my engineering career was. High volume, generally metal type fabrication, or high volume injected plastics. And so that was kind of always my passion. And I started noticing there was a couple of local guys like, hey, I need some traction bars for sled pulling. And I kind of built a few of them for them, and then they wanted a few for their friends. And then I had like 10 orders that I need to ship. And I thought it was like big time. I was like, oh man, this is awesome. Like I'm making 10 of these at once. Like this is the real deal. And I made those 10 and I got them all done. And I looked around. I'm like, how in the hell am I going to ship these things? You can't just like you just can't buy a box, you know? So I'm like, well, shit, I had like a bunch of MBRP exhausts. So I like took all the exhaust out, like put them in the MBRP boxes, and it looked like shit. And I was like trying to put a bunch of packing in there. And I got all 10 shipped out. And I was like, I am never selling another set of traction bars I have to ship. I was like, this is the dumbest thing ever. I spent more time trying to do this. I made literally no money. I'm done with it. I got those like 10 shipped out, and I had like 20 more orders after that. And so I was like, maybe I should really actually apply my what I actually do as a real job into traction bars. And so I had the real fortunate life experience to work with a lot of probably the best in the nation as far as consumer goods and how consumer goods should be packaged. How to, as an engineer, my responsibilities were processes and assembly. So I was like, well, I should really, apply this stuff that I'm being paid to learn for my own company, for my own company.
Right.
So I really took a long, hard look at how we were making them, how should we make them, how should we box them, what investments should we make in order to make this a real legitimate product that is going to be stored at other diesel shops and WDs and dealers across the nation. How do we do that? And so we really made an investment into packaging, boxing, instructions, materials, the components, all that stuff. And so we went from, 5 years ago, we were in, I started in 700 square feet is what I made my first set of traction bars in. And we went from 700 square feet to 3,000 square feet. And then we just bought a 14,000 square foot industrial facility that we're remodeling. All for our manufactured goods. So it's been a real blessing for us. We've worked extremely, extremely hard. We get a lot of people that call in. They're like, so, where can I get some boxes? I got something similar to traction bars that I'd like to ship. We were just curious, where do you get your boxes at? Like, where do you buy those from? And I always respond back to them like, you can't buy these boxes. These are our boxes, our design. You can't physically, go to Uline and buy yourself some Longhorn Fab Shop traction bar boxes that just don't exist outside of us. And so those are the kind of investments we made in inventory and stocking and things like that so that we can produce the bars. And now we can hardly keep up. We were in a situation 6 months ago. Up until 6 months ago, we had been in a back order situation, so people weren't waiting this long, but we were always not shipping the next day for almost a year and a half.
Whoa.
And it was extremely stressful. Growing really fast is stressful. It's a good kind of stress. It's better than the alternative stress. Heather's my wife. She's always doing the books and keeping everything in order. And she's always complaining that, I got all these bills, well, all these invoices are coming in. And I always tell her that the only time you really have to be concerned is when you have no more invoices to pay. When there's no more invoices to pay, we are in some bad spots. So we do, we have, different rod ends for the different trucks, but we do 01 to 10. Oh man, the Bantos must have got someone. You hear that?
Oh yeah.
The ambulance. So we do 01 to 10 Duramax trucks. We do traction bars for those. Those are completely bolt-on kits. We have bolt-on kits for the 11 to present, so LML and L5P are all bolt-on kits for the Duramax.
Hey, now I have something to sell off IP owners.
Done.
Done.
There you
Handled.
go.
Thank you.
Done.
Done. I'll
Let me
sell
tune your
turbos, you guys sell
suspension.
traction bars. We'll do a little gentleman's agreement there.
Oh, God.
And so we came out with that, and then the other day, it was like, I don't know, it was like 10 or 11 o'clock, and Heather had already gone to bed, and I like run into the bedroom, like flip the light on, I'm like, hey, I was like, I got something to tell you. She like looks at me like I like bought her a new car or something, and I was like, if we take these brackets and put them with these brackets, they'll fit 11 and newer Fords. She just looked at me like, you've got to be fucking kidding me right now. So now we have 11 and newer Fords, which kind of goes along with your tuning because they're going to need traction bars as well. And we get a lot of people that are like, we're building for UCC this year. We have what we call the Ultimate Series for the Ultimate Call-Out Challenge. We had Holly Rock Customs, Mike Graves. They broke the U-bolts on the rear axle. The factory U-bolts just completely snapped. It was a complete failure of everything all at once. The brackets broke, the U-bolts broke, the leaf perches broke, it spun the axle around, ripped all the brake lines out. It was a catastrophic failure. And we had never seen a truck break U-bolts, and then everything else kind of disintegrate after that, like what had happened with them on their sled pull last year.
Dude, Mike straight fucked that truck up at that sled pull, man.
It was crazy.
I've never seen somebody so excited to cost themselves I don't know how much money, but it was fucking awesome. I was like in tears, He like came over to me and I was like, man, I was so apologetic. I was like, listen, we've never seen this happen. The FEA on it to do something like that, the finite element analysis in our system shows it takes about 80,000 pounds of pressure to do something like that, to even begin to start to deform that bracket. And I mean, like, it's hard to tell what failed first. Was it the bracket, the U-bolts? No one ever knows. What we do know was that we had to find a way to fix that. And so we've got a special set for him. We call him the Ultimate Series set. And it replaces everything in the rear end. It goes from 5/8 U-bolts to 3/4 inch U-bolts that are used on semis. We have them custom bent to fit Duramax and the 3rd and 4th gen Dodges. Whole new axle plate on the bottom, all out of 3/8 plate. So he's going to be running those at the Ultimate Call-Out Challenge this year, and they'll be available to the public as well, which is pretty awesome. So we're pretty excited about that. We were up at XDP the other week and with you guys, and the one question I was getting, why the heck do I need traction bars? What's it good for? Why am I going to drop, $700, $1,000 on traction bars? And the biggest thing that we've noticed, and especially coming from automotive background, is that the customer demands. Although we think we are a huge portion of the diesel demographic, we're really not. We're really a very small portion, a very niche portion of even enthusiasts with diesel trucks. And the majority of the customer base for an OEM, the biggest complaints are always fuel economy, road noise, power, and ride. Like, those are almost always in the top complaints. Everyone wants their ride to be quieter inside. Not us, obviously, but the majority of buyers. They want it quiet inside, they don't want the smell, and they want the ride soft, and they want to get good fuel mileage. That's all they care about. They don't care about really anything else other than that. True.
And so what we've noticed is that in order to do that on trucks, what they've done is they went to a progressive leaf spring style. So when you're riding around empty, the spring rate is really soft, almost not quite like an SUV, but it's right there. It doesn't take a lot of spring rate to keep the bed level in the back when you have nothing in it. So you drive around, it feels really soft. It feels like an SUV, and everyone's happy. And then when you put load into it, then you get down, and so once it drops just a little bit with load, the leaf springs get stiff extremely fast. And so it's called a progressive spring rate. Almost every modern truck that's got leaf springs on it has that now. And so what happens, though, is most of us aren't racing around and beating on our trucks with 1,000 pounds in bed. So we're always in that light spring rate of that truck. Well, the problem with a light spring rate is that it also allows that axle to wrap very easily. So we've seen trucks that, even with a mild intake, tuner, and exhaust, and they'll wrap the axle up so hard that it'll break the pinion off, the ears off the pinion. And And that's all due to that light spring rate. And when I tell people are like, oh, it's just wheel hop, how bad could it be? And I try to, two things. One, when you're watching a sled puller and he starts bouncing down the track and you start to cringe, that's just a slow motion version of what's happening when your truck's wheel hopping on the pavement.
Right.
And second, when you feel that wheel hop, imagine that that whole drive line unloading and then loading back up. And that shock wave goes all the way from the axles through the differential, through the pinion, drive shaft, into the transfer case, through the transfer case, through all the expensive stuff, all the hard parts in the transmission. And if you're lucky, it gets decoupled at the torque converter. If you're not, it goes right back through into the crank as well. And so those forces aren't just on wheels and tires. And a lot of people don't realize that gears, when they're designed, are designed to operate generally in one direction under load. They'll operate in both directions, obviously, but the whole design of it is to make sure that things mesh correctly when they're under load. And what happens is you wrap that axle up and you put a bunch of load on it, and then you unload that axle. It smacks the back side of the ring and pinion. It smacks the back side of planetaries. And then when it catches again, you're under a severe shock load the other direction. And we've seen trucks that normally, if you have a truck with traction bars and you're not, bouncing it off of potholes, doing burnouts and stuff like that, I mean, a planetary and an Allison will hold, 800, 850 horse. We've seen guys with 600 horse trucks, no traction bars, doing a rolling burnout, hit a pothole and strip a planetary out.
No, we see that at the shop.
Pretty standard.
We have seen that at the shop.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know how many times we've had to talk to guys about why wheel hop destroyed all sorts of crazy shit.
Terrible.
I had a two-wheel drive LLY last summer that it was in like a short bed, goofy kind of conversion or whatever, and he had it slammed, so there's like no suspension in it. And yeah, he got some pretty good wheel hop on it, and when he sent in his core transmission, the bell and tail housing were fucking destroyed.
Well, I think a lot of guys too, like with what Manfred's doing, in our industry, we do tuning, but we also do transmissions. We get a lot of inquiries, and we have to talk to guys about built transmissions.
Tuning's just a gateway drug, let's all face it.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. It definitely is. You buy a diesel, you do tuning, you're screwed, you're broke. But what it is it's a tough pill to swallow, justifying the first big purchase after the truck is going to be the transmission. Everything else is very minuscule in cost. So you do this transmission, and you gain nothing. Okay? Traction bars are kind of the same way. You gain nothing. You're going to gain insurance and reliability, and those two components kind of go together.
Right.
Yep.
It's tough. There are some, everyone wants to buy a turbocharger and injectors. No one is ever excited about buying a fucking transmission or traction bars. I don't care who you are.
Yeah. No, that's it. It becomes tough.
100%.
What haven't we asked you today?
Let's see. I built razor parts.
What's
How
that?
about that? I built razor parts.
Razor parts. That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
You're on your way to a razor park. You just told us this, and I didn't even start
Exactly.
poking at you at all about it. What fucking parts are you making for razors?
So we do rear, like tow hook plates and stuff like that, just random stuff that kind of fits in our wheelhouse. We'll have tie rods, like lifetime warranty tie rods, and so apparently fucking razors have the same problem that the Duramax has, and we're real good at fixing tie rods.
Apparently.
So I mean, that's pretty normal shit for us here. Everyone else is like freaking out about it, and we're like, this is like normal. They got tie rods, they're going to bend.
Yep.
And so but our by far one thing that's taken off by storm, and we sell pallets at a time every month, or seating, lowering and reclining bases for the 1,000 razors, and then any razor running 1,000 seats. And it literally, you just take your stock base off. Everyone loves the Can-Am X3s because you sit kind of like a cockpit, like a real race car would, reclined and lower into the cab. And it's kind of one of those I kind of stumbled upon. I wanted to chop my cage because I wanted to run bigger tires, and I didn't want to buy a bigger enclosed. So I thought, if I want to run bigger tires, I'll just chop my cage, make it lower, put bigger tires on it. I don't have to buy a new enclosed. I thought I'd save myself some money.
You cheap fuck.
I know, I'm cheap as shit. And so I already spent all this freaking money on, I bought used razors. Don't ever do that. I think I dropped I think in months, I dropped $8,000 to put 2 razors back together from people completely fucking them and not like maintaining them at all.
I seen a post the other day about buying a used razor. I think it said buying used razors.
Wait till December. Wait till December. Don't give a shit about color. Buy that ugly white one that no one fucking wants. Save yourself like $8,000 in December and just be happy with life and move on, and don't spend your whole winter freaking out and spending shitloads of money that you didn't want to spend.
No,
so anyway, everyone said don't chop your cage more than like 5 inches or it'll be too low. I sat in it and I was like, dude, if 5 inches looks good, I bet 6 inches would be sweet. So
that's
I
what
took
she
6
said.
inches out of it. So it turns out if you take
She didn't like 6 inches.
6 inches is too much. That's what I learned.
Chris is dying. If you guys could see my co-host of the podcast right now, he is fucking hyperventilating. Oh my god.
Oh God.
I'm sorry. If you take 6 inches out of the cage,
It's too much, obviously. I sat down in it, and I was like, this is perfect. Looked awesome, got it all welded up, reinforced everything against everyone else's wishes to reinforce the stock cage. I should have bought an aftermarket one, but I did it anyway. I sat in it, it was just sweet. Go take it out, put my helmet on, and I was like, shit. I did not account for my helmet. And so my head was bouncing off the cage, which is not really desirable when you're racing through the woods. So I was like, man, I wonder if I could like lower this seat some. So I like did a quick Google search about lowering bases, and no one was making a lowering base that I could find, or that was actually marketing them in a manner that you could actually freaking find them on the internet. So I was like, screw this, I'll just make some. So I made some that lower and recline, and I gained like, it sat you down like 1.5 inches, but with the recline you get like 2.5 inches extra headroom, which is perfect. And I was like, surely I could, just pre-sell a couple of these, maybe pre-sell like 100 of them on this model, and then then I won't have to pay all the design or the manufacturing setup all for this one base that I need. So we did like a pre-order of 100 bases, and everyone got them, and they freaking were awesome. And I was excited about it. All the customers were excited about it. And Razor people are awesome because instead of like getting on the forum or getting on a Facebook page and being like, hey, you suck, this sucks, blah, blah, blah. These guys were like, hey, I got this base. If you did this, it would really help me on this. Or if you did that, it would really help me on this. The next time you do a run of these, could you change that? And so that's what we did. So every time we like made a run of them, we call them different generations. Every time we made a generation, we changed something until we got to I think we're on Gen 3 or Gen 4 now. And we sell the shit out of them. They're freaking awesome. They let you latch and unlatch a seat from the front, which unless you have a Razor with aftermarket seats where you can't get to the damn latch in the back of the seat because the back's closed, you realize how awesome a front latching system is. So that's my like quick little plug on Razor lowering seat bases.
no shit.
And you're not the first person that I've ever talked to that's in diesel that owns a shop, and they go, I started fucking with Razors. Razor owners are a lot easier to deal with. They don't bash you. They don't bother you. They don't call you after hours. They just want parts, and they want to go fuck shit up.
That's it, and they just like, and they just, I mean, they bought a Razor, they just expect it to break. Like, I think half of them come broken from the factory. But when you're just beaten down like that, you just accept the fact that it's broke.
No, that's it. I mean, it's a big ass toy, right? Fuck it.
Exactly.
That's
So we have a good
awesome.
time with it. It's fun. My wife and 2 boys were headed out tonight, so we strapped their car seats in. They got like little bright colored helmets, and we just cruise around the park and have a good time and meet all kinds of cool people. So, and the cool part is that it mingles really well. So most Razor owners have diesel trucks.
And they need
So
traction
that's a big
bars and Lope
tie-in for us.
tunes.
It's already in our wheelhouse. They're already our customers. It's kind of a good deal. So
Hell yeah, man.
Well, that's awesome. Manfred, I definitely appreciate you taking some time out of your vacation to talk to us and pull over on the side of the road and risk getting taken by the hill people.
In Kentucky.
it's been pretty good. There's seriously, I'm not kidding you right now, there are 6 cats that are randomly like wandering around me, and I can't tell if they're like hungry for dinner, or if they expect a treat, or if this is like just normal down here. But
Things that have never been said on the podcast before.
There's been a lot
Yes,
of
I'm
firsts.
being
that's it.
stalked
We
by
got a lot
cats.
of them. If you ever introduce anyone else as the biggest asshole, I'm gonna be really pissed off because right now, like, we've got that slated. So.
Oh, that's you. Don't worry.
Okay, got it.
It's copyrighted.
Thank you so much for joining us. Manfred, obviously you can be reached at Longhorn Fab Shop. What's a good way for people to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so we obviously have the Longhorn Fab Shop Facebook page. There's Longhorn Fab Shop on Instagram. Facebook and Instagram in cahoots together. You don't really ever know what's going to be on your news feed and what they're going to decide that you're going to get to see. So we have a Longhorn Fab Shop Snapchat as well. It's just Longhorn Fab Shop. You can add us on there. You'll get the real life right there. You're not going to get some filtered, non-chronological. What are your friends like? You get up to date. What's going on? What we're doing? Sneak peeks. You get to see when we're really happy and when we're really sad and when we're really pissed off. So you get to see all that good stuff. Obviously, the website, you can email us. The general email is contact us at longhornfabshop.com, or a main number. You can Google search it. You can get it off our website, but the main number is 855-797-8478. Not a lot of people pick up the phone anymore, but it's always a good way to have a two-way conversation quick and get some questions answered and get an order placed and stuff like that. So,
well, that's awesome. Thanks again for your time today. This has been Paul Wilson.
And this is Chris Emke.
Thanks for listening.
Calibrated Power Solutions, the leading North American developer of clean diesel power and home of DuramaxTuner.com, is the proud sponsor of the Diesel Performance Podcast. Calibrated Power develops emissions-equipped calibrations for a wide variety of diesel powertrains, including the Duramax, Cummins, Jeep, John Deere, and many more. For more information and the best customer service in the industry, check out calibratedpower.com or call 815-568-7920. That's 815-568-7920. If you'd like to contact the Diesel Performance Podcast, send us a message through Facebook or email Paul at DuramaxTuner.com or Chris at CEHMKE at DuramaxTuner.com. You could also reach him by phone. Chris's extension is 2121, Paul's is 2122.
Trying to start something new, it's already hard enough, and I got this asshole behind the keyboard. He's feeling badass because someone made him a fucking moderator on a forum, And so I was pissed,